Hello everyone, this is Eva, and here we're with Aviram Jenik, who's the general partner of KSP and also entrepreneur of Beyond Security. So we are in Beyond Security office with Aviram. So hello Aviram.
Hello, Eva.
Uh-huh. Really good to be here. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you for coming.
Uh-huh. And I want to ask you more about KSP. I just heard the recent news that you just opened a new office in Gangnam.
That's right.
So could you explain us more about what KSP do?
Yes. So at KSP, we help Korean startups go global. Our focus is only on Korean startups and only on Korean startups that want to go global, up to the global market.
Yeah.
And we do that with Israeli know-how. So
Uh-huh.
we connect them with Israeli experts, mentors, and advisors who can help them go global, can make them take the next step.
Uh-huh. So could you further explain that? Like I know you guys have your backgrounds in Israel. Like how do you think this could help startups go global?
Well, Korea, like Israel, is outside of Silicon Valley, and a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is to be successful in the global world outside of Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So one solution is, of course, to come to Silicon Valley, and that's what we did in Beyond Securities. We opened an office here, but Israeli startups also succeed without coming to Silicon Valley. You know this. You've interviewed with a lot of Israeli startups in Israel.
Uh-huh.
So Israelis know actually how to be very, very successful worldwide from Israel, so from outside of Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And Koreans have the same problem. They are outside of Silicon Valley. They're in Korea, actually closer than Israel
Mm-hmm.
to California, but still outside. And they want to break out to the global market. So the Israeli expertise is how to do that. How can we take a startup outside of Silicon Valley and make them very, very, very successful?
How is it going? Like, in terms of maybe the companies?
Well, very
Yeah.
slowly. So we're still looking for a lot of startups. We're finding a lot less startups in Korea than I thought, and we really want to talk to a very early stage. First, startups taking their first steps. We're really looking for those, and we haven't found a lot. So that part is a little challenging.
Uh-huh.
But I'm very encouraged by the people I meet.
Mm-hmm.
So the people I meet are very smart and very able.
Yeah.
I just want to meet more.
Oh wow, great. So how do you think KSP differentiates itself from other accelerators or other programs that tries to bring Korea startups to global?
Well, I think there's a lot of different programs, and I think some of them are excellent. What we're trying to do is we're focusing on only Korean startups that want to go global. So that's our only focus. We don't care, and we probably can't help them be big in Korea or in Asia. That's not our ability, and that's not what we're trying to do. Only on startups that want to go global. And then the second thing is the fact that we bring in the Israeli experts. So the expertise come from Israeli people who have already done this, so they know how do we be successful in Silicon Valley outside of Silicon Valley. I think that's important because a lot of people even here don't understand how difficult it is to be successful outside of Silicon Valley.
Yes.
They think,
Yes.
oh, everybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting here. Our next building is Apple,
Yeah.
right? So how easy it is to go in and find someone from Apple, right? Very easy. So people in Silicon Valley kind of think that, oh, everybody can meet, can have a partnership with Apple. You just go next door and you talk to them. But that's not true, right? If you're in Korea, how can you reach Apple? That's hard. Right?
Yeah.
So the advice that the women will give the Korean startups is how would I do it from Israel? How would a person from Israel who have done this, how did they do it? And the best way is to help them help the startups.
How do you plan to bring startups? Like, is there any specific plans ahead of you?
Well, our plan is to just talk to a lot more startups and try to find. We've invested in 3 so far. We invest a little bit of money, but mainly we bring in mentors and advice. We want more startups. We've just opened a new office with office space, so So we want to sort of incubate the earlier stage startups to have them come in and sit with us so we can guide them through those initial steps, right? They're taking. Make sure they're taking the right steps in the beginning, because that's really important. And then and in the future, just have more, and then start to expose them to global investors, to partnerships in Silicon Valley and so on.
Mm-hmm. So, as you're from like Israel, I wondered what opportunity you saw in the like Korean startups, and maybe what are the things that you thought maybe they could improve this better, like weak point, to like so that you find the like opportunity to really fit them in.
So what I liked, so the opportunity I saw in Korea is very very bright, like a really bright group of people, very intelligent, very capable, very hardworking. So all the good things we want in a startup, in an entrepreneur, right? The opposite from lazy, and really like challenges and very understand technology very well. So I saw all this in Korea. And then the opportunity was the fact that most people that I talk to in the startup world don't understand how to go global. They just don't understand. They make really silly mistakes that can be easily fixed if they had some guidance. They just do the wrong things. So I thought, okay, wow, that's something that we can help with. And then I realized that a lot of those mistakes, a lot of those issues are similar to issues Israeli startups had. Actually, Israeli startups went through the same process in the 1990s, made the same mistakes and evolved in the same way. So I just bring in the know-how that we already have to Korean startups, and I think that's a great opportunity for me. Also, I noticed that there's a lot of attempts to bring expertise from Silicon Valley to Korea, but Korea is not Silicon Valley. I think that doesn't really work well. You can relocate someone. You can move someone from Korea to Silicon Valley. Probably that will work, but that's not going to work for everybody. Some people want to live in Korea. Yes. Be successful from there. So how do you do that? So how can you succeed from so much far away? Yes. So I think you can do it, and the proof is Israel. And I think we know how. And we just take that recipe from Israel. Wow. So that's the opportunity that I saw.
So could you like maybe introduce us the partners inside KSP who can help?
We have a very very interesting mix of people. So and it comes from we are two Israelis that live in Korea. I'm an entrepreneur, and I spend most of my time in Korea and the rest of my time here in California. Eyal Mamo is our second Israeli partner, so he's Israeli that lives in Korea now. And his background is more the legal side. We have David Park. Yes. And David is he says that he's Korean, but we think he's more Israeli than Korean because he spent I think more than 10 years in Israel, right? Most of his adult life in Israel, and he speaks all the Hebrew slang and everything, so he knows the Israeli spirit very well. But he's still Korean, so he's a good bridge. Yes. To explain to us the difference when we sometimes don't understand. And finally, we are speaking with another Korean to join us as partner, someone that has more understanding about the pure Korean side of things. So what we're trying to accomplish is to get from very very Israeli from one side to the very very Korean on the other side, and have a few spots in the middle, so that we have the whole sequence of Israel, half Korea, half Israel, to 100% Korea. So
could you maybe provide us with an example of Israeli startup, like going like US, like really Israeli example, maybe to Koreans to get the like picture?
Wow, there's so many.
Yeah, I know.
There's really so many. I guess maybe two of my favorite examples. There's a company. It's not as well known, but they had a huge success. It's a company called Check. CHECK. Yeah. and they were just sold to Intuit. Intuit is a huge accounting company in the US. They do QuickBooks and they do all the financial software is made by Intuit. They're huge, multi-billion dollars, one of the biggest software companies. And they just bought Check. And why I'm excited about this, they bought them for $350 million. So pretty big exit. Now, why am I so proud of them? They're an Israeli company, and they beat an American company called Mint. Mint is very well known in the Silicon Valley. Everybody knows them. Everybody uses them. And they were also bought by Intuit. And Check was bought later for more money. So the Israeli company beat the Silicon Valley company into Intuit with the same. They were direct competitors. They did exactly the same thing. And the way Check did it is from Israel, they did all the right things to be. This is a financial software, so Americans are really worried about who do I give my information, financial information, right? And they're from Israel. They were able to convince Americans to trust them, give them all the financial information, all the credit card information, bank information. They had everything, and they I think that's a really classic case study on how to be more American than American, how to convince Americans better than an American competitor.
Yeah.
Because the Americans trusted Check more than they trusted Mint to handle their finances.
Wow.
So that's one example. And of course, the second example, very famous now, is Waze. And acquired by Google for more than $1 billion. So a huge success. And again, 100% Israeli, operating from Israel. And I think now there's a Korean version as well of Waze. You can use Waze in Korea now. So they were very successful, very social application, and they just grew really well.
Wow. So like learning this Israeli spirit, I think Korean startups can also like maybe have themselves in to global expansion. And maybe lastly, Aviram, what would you like to really transfer your message to Korean startups? Like,
well, first I'd like all Korean startups to come and please talk to me, see me, and let me see if I can help you, especially if you want to go global. But another message I have is I would like to see what I'm not seeing yet in Korean startups. I would like Korean startups to try to reach a little further, be a little more innovative, take a little more risk. I'd like to see less Me Too products and less just mobile apps and more technology. And I know there's a lot of Korean entrepreneurs out there with amazing ideas for technology, and maybe they're a little bit afraid, and then they're toning down, and they're instead of shooting for the moon, they're saying, okay, let's do something a little more safe, and let's create a startup that is more possible. And I'm asking you, please don't do that. Please try to shoot for the moon. Please try to go for the really crazy technology, and this will be your way to huge success, even if your risk for failure is higher.
Thank you so much, Aviram, for the interview.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.